Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, Aunt shows up at my house, with all her stuff, tells me she's going to be living with me for a while. Crazy lady accuses me of kidnapping my stepson. Tries to kidnap him from me. Do any of you have good replies to name dropping? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Aunt shows up at my house, with all her stuff, tells me she's going to be living with me for a while. So, without getting too political, we recently had an election in the USA. My aunt supported one side, while her husband and adult offspring supported the other side. The election did not go the way my aunt wanted it to. Aunt proceeded to flip her shit, breaking things, yelling, and even going as far as to set her daughter's "I voted" sticker on fire. Her husband called the cops. The cops declined to arrest her for anything, but suggested that she find a different place to stay for the night. This happened yesterday, in New Jersey. Fast forward to 2 a.m. today. Here I am sleeping peacefully in my home, with my family, over 500 miles from all that drama. My fence alarm goes off, waking me up. IDK if it's a bear or a trespasser, so I get my pants on and grab my shotgun, just to be safe. Turns out, my aunt cut the lock off my front gate, because she couldn't get in, and I wasn't answering my phone. Why did she have bolt cutters in her car? So, I safely stow my weapon and ask her WTF? She starts crying and screaming, mind you, this is at 2 a.m. in a quiet rural community, about how the devil took her family and they threw her out. And she says that since she has nowhere else to go, I need to let her in so she can stay in my guest room for a while. I told her, one of my guildies is using that room right now. The room is occupied. This person came from Texas all the way to West Virginia to hang out with me. I'm not gonna toss them out with 30 seconds of notice because my aunt showed up. So, she decides to call the police and tell them that I'm keeping her from entering her home. We're out in the woods, so the cops don't get here quick. 4:41 a.m., the cops show up. I see them talking to her in my driveway. She shows them the bolt cutters and the ruined lock. A few minutes later, the officer knocks on my door. Your tenant claims that dash. I immediately cut him off and tell him that I do not have a tenant. I own and occupy this structure. I offer to show him the deed. Well, this woman claims dash. I cut him off again. What's the address on her ID say? At this point, the cop is pissed at me. I can tell. So I try to de-escalate the situation. Look man, she doesn't live here. She has never lived here. That's my aunt. She lives in New Jersey. Please check her ID card. Cop calms down a bit and lets me know that he will talk to her and then come back. 10 minutes later, the cops come back to my door. 3 of them this time, not just the one from earlier. One of them had stripes and a rocker on his arm, so I could tell he was important. He asks me if there's any way Aunt can stay here for the night, because she's too drunk to drive, so he can't let her back on the road. This woman just drove from New Jersey to WV drunk. Thank God she didn't kill anyone. I told them that she cannot stay here, but that I'm sure there's room in the local jail. The cop asks me if she can just sleep in her car in my driveway and leave in the morning. I told him absolutely not. When she wakes up in the morning, I would just have to call them to come get her off my property. So that would solve nothing. I asked them to remove her from my property. Long story short, her car got towed, and she is in the drunk tank, no charges pending, for the night. So much for sleeping tonight. My kids need to be up for school soon. Crazy how all the cops refused to arrest her. Old white lady in rural WV has been obviously driving around drunk, causing property damage and making false claims to the cops? Better send her back to her car to sleep it off while the cops leave. Old white women seem to be utterly immune from taking responsibility for these sorts of things. We had the cops let an 80-year-old woman who literally drove through one of our buildings go without even taking her ID. If you wanted to, you could have asked to press charges for destruction of property due to her taking a bolt cutter to your lock. Even more so if she did any damage to the gate. Also trespassing. They could have filed a police report, but I doubt the DA would take on such a small vandalism/one-time trespassing case. Good Lord. First of all, kudos for standing your ground and not allowing that drama into your household. Second, I think she's gone past entitlement to imminent need of psychiatric evaluation. Not something you have the power to do, but her husband may weigh in on that when he hears about it. Hopefully your night of lost sleep will be the catalyst to her getting the professional help it so clearly sounds like she needs. I don't think MAGA and Canon have been named mental disorders yet. They should be, but so far haven't been. Sounds like your aunt had a full-on mental breakdown. I'd fix the lock as soon as possible to avoid her from coming back. It's kinda crazy how some people's brain just can't cope with reality. OP needs to confiscate the bolt cutters first. Otherwise, she'll just cut the new lock off. Is destruction of property and breaking and entering not a crime? Call your local DA and press your own charges. She crazy. I agree with this. She committed several crimes, yet was charged with none. And seriously, outside of construction workers and criminals, who just drives around with bolt cutters? Certainly not middle-aged women, at least none that I know of. Whether I agree with her political views or not, I wouldn't let a relative who tries to break into my home, drunk as a skunk, stay at my house when I already have company staying. Especially if she threatens me with the cops. What she did is trespassing and she should be in jail. Don't forget there's kids in the home too. And if OP didn't vote the same way Aunt did, then Aunt would probably start breaking things. The woman drove over 500 miles inebriated, trespassed on private property, destroyed private property, lied to police, and still didn't get arrested? I would be pressing charges for the trespassing and the property damage, then remind her it would have been cheaper to get a hotel room. Wow, no offense, but your cops are bad, like real bad. She should have been arrested for drunk driving, trespassing, property damage, making a false statement and giving false information. You need to take out a restraining order against her. The good old boys out here don't like to do paperwork. If this looks like it's gonna be more than a one-time thing, I'll look into going the court route. But as long as she doesn't come back when they let her out of the drunk tank, I'm willing to let the water flow under the bridge and just go and see. At least there seems to be an easy way to keep her away. Print out some slogans from the party she didn't vote for and put them in your windows. She seems entitled enough and unhinged enough to break into the house to tear them down. Crazy lady accuses me of kidnapping my stepson. Tries to kidnap him from me. So this happened about a week ago, and I honestly am still fuming from this. I'm not sure if this belongs in this subreddit, but here goes. First, a little backstory. I'm a mixed ethnicity individual. I've been confused for many races over the course of my 29 years on this planet, but I'm literally Caucasian and African American. Usually it can be figured out, but the difference with me is my father is the Caucasian, so therefore my hair is straight. I'm originally from Texas and am usually confused for being Mexican. But now I live in Massachusetts and I've never had an issue with anyone concerning my race, until this day. Also, I am married to a Caucasian woman who had a child before we were married. His father is not in his life as much, and I took the responsibility because I love this woman and I love this little boy as if he were my own. He's 4 now and I've been in his life since he was 1. Anyways, on to the story. My wife needed a few things from the grocery store and she needed to run a few more errands, and usually she just goes and knocks things out herself. Because I'm sleep, I work nights, but this particular day I happened to be awake and I offered to go for her. She works hard and does a lot, so I definitely felt it was necessary to do something for her so she could just relax for the day. I took my son with me so she could rest up and just take it easy, and it gave me time to spend with my son for some bonding. We completed all of the errands, which went smoothly, and then headed to the grocery store to finish up our day. My son, being a typical 4-year-old, was full of energy, running ahead of me, laughing and speaking to everyone he comes across, which I generally don't mind as long as he doesn't hit anyone and stays within eye view. As I'm making my way down an aisle looking for canned corn, my son jogs to the end of it when an older lady is entering at the other end. My son, being the sweet social butterfly he is, approached and exclaims an excited "Hi. Me 4 and me Ryan." Bless his little heart. The lady looked down and says, "Well, hello there. You shouldn't be running around unattended, let's go find your parents." I didn't think anything of her statement because I assumed she just hadn't seen me. "Ryan. Come back here, bud, please." He excitedly runs back toward me and starts turning in circles because he's 4, lol. I'm still searching the shelves as the lady walks past me and stops behind me. Again, I think nothing of it because it's a grocery store and you have to share the aisles. I turn my basket around and start to walk toward the front cash registers when this lady literally blocks my path. I say excuse me and try to walk around her, and she moves her cart in front of me again. I honestly thought she was just getting confused and said excuse me once again and tried one more time to go around, and she just blocks my path. The following convo ensues. Me, "I'm sorry about that, we'll get out of your way." Lady, "Oh, I don't think so. You're not going anywhere with that child." Me, "You mean my son?" Lady, "That's not your child. He's white. And you're Mexican. You probably didn't even know his name until he said it to me." Me, "Sure, whatever, lady, can you just move? My wife is at home and anxiously awaiting for us." Lady, "Stop your lies. You're not taking him anywhere, you pervert." This whole time my son is standing close to me holding my leg because he was honestly getting scared. I was getting angry because I hadn't had much sleep and I have a short fuse anyway, thanks Dad. Me, "As you can see, he's standing close to me because he trusts me and you're scaring him, so how about you buzz off?" Lady, "No. He's scared because of you. He just doesn't know how to express it yet." She looks at my son. Lady, "Come on now, sweetie, I'm here to rescue you. Come with me." Thankfully, my son was able to communicate to her he wasn't going anywhere with her. But she was having none of it. She literally grabbed my son and began to run. It caught me off guard because I honestly could not fathom what was actually happening. My son starts screaming loudly because he was so scared, and this lady is just like, "Don't worry, sweetie, he won't hurt you, I promise." Suddenly I snap back into reality and I begin to chase after this crazy winch. While running through the store, I yell for people to stop her and that she's kidnapping my son, and thankfully a worker stops her before she makes the exit. Lady, "Why are you stopping me? This Mexican here is trying to kidnap my grandson." My son literally is bawling his eyes out and extending his arms out calling for me. This lady was relentless and would not let go until my son, even after he slaps her face multiple times. I laughed a little, not gonna lie. At this point, a manager shows up and asks what's going on. The lady spoke before me. Lady, this, pointing at me, pervert is trying to kidnap my grandson and I was just trying to escape. Me, "That's my son, you freaking psycho. Now let him go." The manager didn't know what to believe. I don't blame him, he was caught in a weird situation. So I pulled out my phone and showed him pictures of me and my son that dated a year or so back as proof. This lady still would not give up and accused me of faking them. Like, how would you do that exactly? I'll never know, but whatever. Sadly, there were 2 other ladies there taking the psycho's side and said I was attempting to kidnap my own son because there was no way we were family because of our different skin tones. One even called the police, which I was actually happy about because I knew they'd be able to review the security cameras. Even still, I called my wife to see if she could come to the store to get this situation cleared up quicker. As soon I told her what was going on, she zoomed to the store. She got there about the same time as the police. The crazy ladies were giving their statement to the cops when my wife walked in. As soon as she walked in, my son goes, "Mama, help." My wife is a true mama bear and she immediately flew into a rage when she saw this lady holding my son. "Wife, let him go now." "Lady, sorry sweetie, I was just trying to protect him from this pervert over here." Lady 2, "Yeah, we saw him trying to kidnap him, but this lady saved him." The cop looks at the lady and is confused. "Officer, I thought this was your grandson?" "Wife, I have no idea who that lady is." She takes out her phone and shows the officer a picture of my mother-in-law. "Lady, okay, I'm sorry, he's not my grandson, but I was only trying to protect him from this dirty pervert over here." Lady 2, "Yeah, I witnessed the whole thing. He snatched that child and tried to run away with him, but this lady stopped it." Lady 3, "Yes, I saw it too. He needs to be arrested. And you," pointing to my wife, "should be thankful that this lady was here to save your son because you obviously just let him loose wherever." "Wife, who are you talking about again?" All three crazy ladies pointed at me. "Wife, oh, you mean my husband?" Lady 1, "Husband?" "Wife, yeah, who do you think called me and got me here so fast?" I presented my ID to the officer and the manager, and my wife did the same. We also each showed pictures of us on our phones to prove we were really a family. The cop nodded in approval and handed us our phones back and jotted down a few notes. The three ladies for some reason still kept trying to say this was all fake and my wife was in on the kidnapping and said we needed to be arrested. My wife lost it at this point and let off some colorful words I won't repeat here, but she definitely got her point across. Then the nail in the coffin came for the psycho trio. The office turned to the manager and asks, "Officer, sir, do the cameras work here?" Manager, "Yes, we have them inside and out." Officer, "Okay, great, let's go review." The three ladies' faces went pale. Like ghostly pale. The officer reviewed the outside camera as I pulled into the parking lot and saw me take my son out of my car, and then as I went up and down the aisles, and most importantly, the instance the woman snatched up my son and began to run. Upon his return, he asks, "Officer, would you like to press charges?" Lady 1, "Yes, I would." Officer, "Why would I be asking you that question? Shut your mouth and sit down." He turns to me and repeats the question. Me, absolutely. Lady 1 was charged with attempted kidnapping, false imprisonment, providing a false police report, and child endangerment. The other two were also charged with providing a false police report as well. To make matters worse for Lady 1, my son bruises easily and she left some terrible spots on him from where she was grasping him, but he's fine. This added a charge of child abuse to her rap sheet. I have court later this year, but I'm not sure when because of COVID. The officer will be following up with me in a few weeks. Sorry for the length. Edit, wow, wasn't expecting this to blow up. Edit 2, thank you for the hug and gold awards, kind strangers. Edit 3, to everyone whom has commented and shown support, thank you. I tried my best to respond to you all, but the messages came through so fast and I couldn't keep up. But thank you again. Edit 4, if you commented on my post negatively, well, that's on you and your miserable self. But if you said anything in regards to my son, then you can go screw yourself. I love how there are so many experts on here that know so much about my son, who you've never met. I posted this to vent my experience and get it off my chest. But whatever, I have nothing to prove to you. Edit 5, hi everyone, sorry I kinda went off grid. But I should have a real update soon. Apparently, the lady involved is connected to local police through family, so they're trying to be real quiet and drag this out as much as possible. But we have managed to get a court date in October. No date exactly yet. but trust me, I'll post as soon as I have more info. Oh God. At least these women are getting the punishment they deserve for harassing you and your son. Please keep us updated as this keeps going. Yes, thank goodness you pressed charges, OP. I always hate getting to the end of the story and seeing people decline. This is how you stop the entitlement. These old biddies probably never had to answer to anyone like that before. So, you're going to love this. Me and my 2 younger brothers are super white and adopted by Hispanic Native American parents. This kind of stuff used to happen to us often. I can't express how many times I got asked if I was okay as a kid. Or where my parents were. Also, people are racist as at. My parents would have so many bad things happen to them. Like they would be ignored, but people would take my order. Or they would be questioned. Or they would be pushed aside when I walked up to stand next to them. I just want you to know that I totally understand where you are coming from and it sucks. Unfortunately, we didn't have camera phones then to prove who was who. My dad happened to be a sheriff deputy though. So that helped. LOL, such big fat idiots. Don't listen to them, after all, stupidity can be contagious. Do you think this was a ruse to actually kidnap your son? This is just crazy. And the fact she was trying to leave and say it was her grandson. Did the other ladies know her? Seems to me that it might have been more a kidnap attempt and less of an EP. Honestly, I didn't even think of that. It may have been. Because the other 2 conveniently kept chiming in. Ugh, but I'm glad they all got in trouble. It would be a bit harder to press charges for a conspiracy to commit kidnapping of a minor. I'm Caucasian and my kids are Chinese. I was accused by a customs inspector of child trafficking, despite having all the paperwork with me. Weirdly, that's only happened that one time. My oldest, 18F, has informed me that it's only happened once because of white privilege. Sadly, I can't disagree. Glad you pressed charges against those women. I hope your son is okay. My husband is Mexican, very dark, I am very pale white. Our oldest daughter is as dark as him, our son is as light as me. I am not worried about someone mistaking me for not being my daughter's mother or even saying anything about it. I am worried about the day someone questions him when he is out with our son. I hope the courts throw the book at her. Is your son alright? Any lingering PTSD from it all? Well, my son is afraid to go to that particular store at the moment. But other than that, he's doing okay. Thank you. OMG, this reminds me an old college friend who was a non-traditional student. His grandfather was full Lakota, Sioux. He took after his grandma's side, red hair and pale skin. He had a daughter that looks full Native American. You wouldn't believe some of the situations he and his wife had to deal with. Do any of you have good replies to name dropping? I live in a small, remote, island town. Due to how scenic the area is, there are also an abnormally large number of well-off families here. There is no connection to the mainland, no bridge or anything, so people seem to lose any perspective and get totally wrapped up in themselves and the tiny town politics. Name dropping is a constant thing at work, dealing with other parents at kid activities, everywhere. People introduce themselves as I'm Jane Smith and then pause and wait for you to act impressed or whatever. At work they expect discounts and special treatment. The same people also immediately demand to know how long you've lived here and your first and last name. They then spend the entire conversation alternating between trying to figure out your net worth and dropping the names of every well-off person they know or are related to. So my question is, how would you respond to the name dropping? So far I've responded with sympathy a few times. It's okay. I'm sure no one even knows what that means. I'd love to hear some funny comebacks or real-life experiences with a name dropper and how you dealt with them. Smile, okay, so do you want a paper bag or did you bring a reusable bag? Do not engage, interact with them, don't care about them at all. They literally can't make you care. This is a great way. They want to be validated, so completely ignoring their efforts takes all that energy and redirects it nowhere. Just keep them edging the whole time and they'll leave oh so unsatisfied. I went to school with a person that name. It has been 20 years, but that school still uses them as an example of why no one is allowed to staple their own pages together. Oh really, that is your name? How nice it must be to share a name with a person of importance. Yes, I heard the name. But it isn't on my list to give discounts to. I knew a person with that name once. I do hope they get paroled soon. Don't worry, I didn't believe all that stuff that I heard about you at coffee shop, diner, market. It's good that you're out and about, that'll show them. In Australia, we use the old, hey, you know, it's not true what they say about you, you're alright. Lean in and semi-whisper, for the record, I never believed a word they said about, you know. If they act confused or ask what you heard, give them a knowing look and say, that's such a wise path to take. Of course you have no idea what we're talking about. Wink and nod and move on. That's nice. Are you expecting something? Congratulations, no idea who that is that a person from TV, etc.? Playing ignorant always ruffles feathers. Given where I currently live, oh bless your heart. Gotta love the way the South has the nicest way to insult people. I'm so glad you remember who you are today. That makes this transaction a lot easier. Then of course do not clarify what you mean, even if asked, so they start questioning their own memory. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.